Things that you're talking about here is the way that things develop. They continue to develop. So one of the things that that we really believe is that by creating this kind of network of a state team and local practice groups, that you can kind of learn with each other, but you can also learn from each other.
Yes,
So why don't we just talk a little bit, maybe identify some of the various kinds of initiatives that are going on, things that you're doing as a state team, and just naming some of the things in a quick summary of what some of those things look like. So Wade, I know that you're in a local, you're a facilitator of a local COP as well. So where are you, and what is it, just briefly, that practice group does? So
I'm located on the Hawaii Island, or we call it the Big Island of Hawaii, on the east side. And the area that we encompass is from Hilo all the way to Lapahoihoi. And so our the impetus of really our growth was the community members coming to us of the local grocery stores and saying, you know, here are some issues that we've got, and how can we all work together to remedy these things for students and partnerships alike. And so that was the start of a community of practice, and it included a multitude of people, from businesses, parents, and all of that. So when we got together, we were all excited, and it was like, okay, now what, you know? Mm-hmm. And so the COP at the state level, I was invited by Paul Bond at the time to participate and really use the process of the community of practice to go through that journey. And it's a constantly evolving journey. The needs of the community, the needs of the stakeholders change, and as do sometimes the members, based on the needs.
Perfect. Thank you, Wade. And a little different emphasis. You want to tell us a little bit about that?
Ours I'm in North Hawaii, which is, the Big Island is huge. All the other islands could fit into our island more than once. And so I'm about an hour and a half away from Wade's area. We started working with our local EAs at our high school and providing outside kind of training.
And an EA as well.
Educational assistant, working with our special education students. I think with the local, other members of our local COP, they brought to me that our EAs, they don't get enough training at the school level. And I agreed that they don't get enough training at the local level at the school, because they're so busy working on lesson plans and teacher training. So the EAs were kind of a group that needed additional training. That's what's called learning as a community. And so we brought psychologists, lots of different trainers in. Kung Fu was one, and how do you get along with people? Even for the EAs, just as basic as that. How do you get along with people? And then from that, it kind of grew into looking at the high school and saying, well, you know, we have a lot of transitioning, incoming ninth graders. It's an intermediate high school. Some are already at that high school, but there's also 2 feeder schools. So how do we look at helping those ninth graders transition into I remember my ninth grade, it was pretty stressful. When you go from intermediate to high school, you know, as an adult we don't think it's a big deal, but when you're at that age it is a big deal. And so it really was to build the Ka'upena project, which means the net, and the analogy is, you know, when you put a safety net, that we're not going to let any of these kids fall through the cracks. They're not special education identified, they're more those kids that are at risk. And they're identified mostly through the feeder schools or through the counselors and the student services coordinators that say, you know, these kids kind of had a rocky 8th grade. We look at grades, attendance, referrals, and that kind of stuff. And our project has grown 2 or 3 years of providing adult mentorship to moving to student mentorship to finding the right adult to work with these kids as a sort of a school-based behavioral health kind of aspect. And now it's gone kind of school-wide, where they've created intervention periods twice a week with volunteer mentors 10th through 12th grade. So this year has gone that. So it's really gone from a very small project to becoming a systemic kind of a change for the school.
And the relationships you created through doing the first project seem to have led you to the second.
Yes.
That's great.
It has.
That's a point that we really try to make in COP, and I think that the stories that both of you have of local COP really really backs up this idea that building the relationship gives you the foundation for really tackling a lot of problems. Thank you both for that.